And one of the things you do document in the book is the rapid move by organizations like the American Psychological Association and the American Psychiatric Association to change the wording that they've used surrounding the discussion on gender identity. Correct?
Yes, that's right. They have changed the wording, but the bigger change, of course, is that they've gone to an affirmative care standard, which means that they no longer apply any medical judgment. They simply surrender all judgment and agree with or affirm the patient's self-diagnosis.
Right. And along with that goes and this is part of what made me nervous about talking to you, and I still probably am, is that as a medical practitioner or as a psychotherapist, psychotherapists are now bound, as far as I've been able to determine by examining the law, to adopt precisely this gender-affirming position. And I believe that that's the case in Ontario. So I don't do adolescent therapy. But if I had a young adult, say 18 or older, come to me who was expressing confusion about their gender identity, let's say, or was gingerly testing the waters to determine if perhaps they were transgender, I believe that I'm required by law to adopt a position that would affirm that fundamentally.
That's right. Yes, a sword of Damocles hangs over professionals' heads now. And what it says is you must agree with the patient's self-diagnosis. Put another way, it suggests that you should begin with the conclusion. Your conclusion must be that this person has gender dysphoria, and then you can, go along from there and start prescribing treatments. That's not how medicine or any other area of therapy is practiced. You don't begin with the conclusion. You investigate it. Now, you brought up my Wikipedia entry. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, it's the number of lies that have been put into that. I didn't start the Wikipedia entry; others did, and there's been, back and forth fights with activists and so forth to rewrite it. But of course, I don't, advocate any. I mean, it's not true. I mean, so much of what has been said is not true. First of all, the affirmative care standard, that's the problem, and I don't advocate a particular method of treating transgender people. I don't even advocate a method of treating transgender teenagers. All I'm pointing out in the book is that there seems to be a sudden rise in these teenage girls who are subject to peer influence and social media influence, deciding they're transgender, and there are no medical safeguards for these girls. There's no means right now, and no one determining whether they actually have the correct diagnosis before proceeding to treatment. That's it.
Right. And so I guess the catch-22 here is that if the statement, most reputable medical organizations affirm or put forward an affirmative care requirement, then any position that questions that or objects to it is, in some sense, by definition, fringe.
Well, it's a good question.
I'm not saying at all that your position is a fringe position. It's a matter. I don't see how that can be avoided under the current circumstances, because the laws and guidelines are written as if this is a fait accompli, right? That we understand transgenderism completely and gender dysphoria, and that all the answers are already in. And I don't think that's true for any psychiatric diagnosis.
Yes, I would just say that it is fringe insofar, or it appears fringe, because all the doctors who disagree, and there are many, and they're speaking up all the time, are silenced. They are told that they could lose their license if they don't immediately affirm the adolescent, no matter what her other mental health problems are, and immediately go along with facilitating her transition.
Right.